Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and it's pre-order day for the greenskins. This means that a bunch of stuff is now available to order as from the 23rd of March. And not only that, but I get to talk to you about something. You see, our friends at Games Workshop have sent over a copy of the Arcane Journals for the Orcs and Goblins. Now this is going to work in a identical way as the previous ones that we've discussed in the past. So there's new factions, new units, a brand new full lore of magic this time, which we're going to talk about later on. And out of respect to Games Workshop, I'm not going to go through everything page by page. We'll go through the same format as we did in the early access to the launch of Warhammer 3. Thank you once again to Games Workshop, but let's get started with one of the brand new factions. So we're going to start off first with a Nomadic WAAAGH. This is an Army of Infamy which focuses very heavily on cavalry. It's actually really interesting, to be honest. Let's talk about the army composition first. So characters, 50% of your points may be spent on characters, and it is the following: 0 to 1 Black Orc War Bosses or Black Orc Big Bosses per Black Orc Chariot. So you need to have Black Orc Chariots, which, by the way, yes, new unit. We'll talk about that a little bit later. 0 to 1 Orc War Bosses or Orc Weird Knobs per 1,000 points, and then as many Orc Big Bosses, Orc Weird Boys, Goblin Bosses, and Goblin Shamans as you wish. When it comes to core, you have the following. It's 25% as per usual, so as many Goblin Wolf Rider mobs or Goblin Wolf Chariots as you wish. If your general is an Orc boss, then you may take one Orc Boar Boy mob as a core choice, and if your general is a Black Orc boss, remember when it comes to boss, it could be either a war boss or a big boss, you can take a Black Orc Boar Chariot as a core choice, which is pretty damn good. When it comes to special, you've got 50% there, and that can be as many Orc Boar Boy mobs as you want, Orc Boar Chariots, and Snotling Pump Wagons. Yes, they count as cavalry over here. And when it comes to rare, well, you've only got two choices, but you can take as many as you want with 25% of your point values, either Black Orc Boar Chariots or Giants. Now, for mercenaries, you can take 25%, and that is one Bone Grinder Giant. You may only take one in that army. Or you can take as many Badland Ogre Bulls as you want. Obviously, keep in mind that when it comes to these mercenary units, they're subject to the misbehaving mercenaries rules. But yeah, very much focused on cavalry. If you like basically plain Bretonia, but you want to play it green, this one's good for you. And obviously with a brand new Army of Infamy, you do get brand new special rules for this specific army. The first one is Cunning Hunters. Within a Nomadic WAAAGH army, any number of Goblin Wolf Rider mobs may have the Ambushes special rule at the cost of 1 point per model. In addition, Goblin Bosses and Goblin Shamans that are mounted on a Giant Wolf may have the Ambushes special rule at the cost of 10 points per model. If you're going to be using loads of ambushes, which I know some people are quite enjoying right now, that's probably going to be quite good for you. The next one is Hit 'em Fast, Hit 'em Hard. Within a Nomadic WAAAGH army, any Orc model that is mounted on a War Boar, Black Orc Bosses, Orc Shamans, and Orc Boar Boys gain Impact Hits 1 special rule. These impact hits are made using the strength characteristic of the War Boar and have an armor piercing characteristic of -1. In addition, 0 to 1 Orc Boar Boy mobs per 1,000 points may have the Vanguard special rule for 1 point per model. Again, pretty good. If you like going full boar, this is going to be quite good for you. It's actually kind of sad that we're not going to be getting Golbad Ironclaw here because, I mean, well, it just kind of fits with this. I guess this is a bit of a throwback. Next is Hunting Packs. Any Goblin Wolf Rider mob within a Nomadic WAAAGH army may exchange the Open Order and Skirmishes special rule with the Close Order and Horde special rule. Again, pretty damn good if you want to just take loads and loads of goblins. The next one is pretty funny. Obviously, this is on the move. All characters within a Nomadic WAAAGH army must be mounted. So I told you, Orctonia. It's pretty cool, I must say. I'm actually pretty interested in how this could work out. Right now, I'm actually working on a troll army because I found my troll hag and I found a bunch of trolls. So that's the main one, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But after I'm done with that and when I can finally buy some Orc Boar Boys, yeah, definitely going to try this out. But lastly, we do have Solitary Fighters. Black Orc bosses within a Nomadic WAAAGH army are not subject to the Boys or Quell Impetuosity special rules. Overall, I think that this is going to be quite interesting for a lot of people if they like kind of memey cavalists. Cavalry is quite good so far in Old World from what I've been able to play around with, and I do feel like for the orcs, this is going to be absolutely hilarious. And now we're going to be moving on to the second Army of Infamy. This is the Troll Horde. Don't you worry, we're going to be talking about all the new units later on in this video. But as per usual, up to 50% of your points value may be spent on your characters. That is 0 to 1 Orc War Bosses or Orc Weird Knobs per 1000 points. And then you can have as many Orc Big Bosses, Orc Weird Boys, Goblin Bosses, Goblin Shamans, and Troll Hags as you wish. Yes, it counts as a character here. Then, when it comes to core, at least 33% of your army must be core. That is 1 troll mob per 1000 points, and then an additional 0 to 1 troll mobs may be taken as a core choice per troll hag taken, and then as many orc mobs, goblin spider rider mobs, and goblin wolf rider mobs as you so wish. You can go as many trolls as you want, by the way, it is kind of memey. Then when you go on to special, it's up to 50%, and this is as many troll mobs and goblin wolf chariots as you want, 0 to 1 orc boar boy mobs per 1000 points, and 0 to 1 orc boar chariots per 1000 points. For rare, you've got up to 25% of your point value, and that is giants. Yeah, not a lot. And then for mercenaries, you have up to 25% of your point value once again, and this includes Badland Ogre Bulls. You can take as many as you wish there, or 0 to 1 Bone Grinder Giants. So yeah, no Black Orcs whatsoever, but it's not too bad considering that you're going to likely be playing a lot of monsters here. I think it's quite fun, at least this is why I'm focusing on doing a Troll Horde army for the channel before I do anything else. Now, there's not a lot of special rules for the Troll Horde, but they are quite fun. The first is Enhanced Regeneration. Models with the Regeneration X special rule within a Troll Horde army may re-roll any failed regeneration saves against wounds caused by non-magical attacks. So yeah, you're going to be able to likely keep your trolls up and running for a little bit longer, which is always quite fun. The next one is Oi Disway. Unless the character is fleeing, friendly troll mobs within a Troll Horde army that are within the command range of an Orc Shaman, Goblin Shaman, or Troll Hag can use the leadership characteristic of that character instead of their own. Again, pretty damn good considering that troll leadership is a little bit lacking. You know, a common troll mob has leadership 4, whereas the Troll Hag has leadership 8. It does make a lot of difference there, but yeah. And then we've got one final special rule. Again, not a lot here, but in addition to the laws of magic that they normally know, Orc Shamans and Goblin Shamans within a Troll Horde army may know spells from the Law of Troll Magic. This is a brand new Law of Magic, and it's not like the ones that we've been seeing where they're just like free spells. This is a full law, even with its own signature, which we're going to be talking about right now. Now, keep in mind, I know some people are going to be saying, well, it's a full law that's only going to be used during the Army of Infamy. That's not the case. You'll be able to use Troll Hags in your generic Orc and Goblin armies, so you'll still be able to use this Law of Magic. And there's also a named character that has access to that too, but we'll talk about him a little bit later. So let's start off with the Law of the Troll. The signature spell is as follows: Big Smarts. Enchantment, casting value of 8+, on ranges on self, remains in play. Whilst the spell's in play, friendly units within the command range of this model may reroll any failed stupidity tests. Additionally, if a friendly unit within the command range of this model when this spell is cast failed its stupidity test during the start of turn subphase of the same turn, it may immediately make this test again, which is pretty damn good. You're going to be doing a lot of stupidity tests with trolls too. So, now we jump into the proper spells. These are the 6 proper ones that you have. These ones are going to be the ones that you're going to be rolling off for. The first one is Acidic Bile. It's a magic missile with a casting value of 8+, a range of 18 inches. Place a small 3-inch blast template so that its center is directly over the target enemy unit. Once placed, the template will scatter D3+1. Any enemy model whose base lies underneath the template's final position risks being hit as described on page 95 of the Old World core rulebook, and suffering a strength 3 hit with an AP of -2. The next is Troll Brains. So this is a hex spell with a casting value of 9+ and a range of 15 inches. And its effect is a remains in play. Whilst this spell is in play, the target enemy unit becomes subject to the stupidity special rule and reduces their leadership characteristic by 1, to a minimum of 1, I imagine. Usually it's stated that way, but for some reason it isn't here. For number 3, we have Ravenous Recourse. So this is a conveyance spell with a casting value of 8+, and its range is Self. Until the end of this turn, all friendly units that have the Stupidity special rule and are within 12 inches of this caster gain a +2 modifier to their movement characteristic. Again, very, very good. Common trolls, for example, have movement 6, so giving them up to movement 8 is really fast moving. For number 4, we have the Fetid Whirlpool. So this is a magical vortex with a casting value of 9+ and a range of 18 inches. It is, once again, it remains in play spell. Place a small 3-inch blast template so that its central hole is within 18 inches of this caster. Whilst in play, the template is treated as dangerous terrain. The template moves d6 inches in a random direction during every start of turn subphase. Any enemy unit the moving template touches or moves over suffers d3 plus free strength for hits, each with an AP of -2. Very important to note here that it says that any enemy unit. So your dudes should be perfectly fine, it seems. So potentially you could actually have some really interesting vortexes going around and kind of acting like a barrier for you. Now, spell number 5 is Torrent of Filth. A settlement, this is a casting value of 8+ and its range is in combat. Place a flame template so that the narrow end touches the caster's base edge and the broad end is over a unit they are engaged in combat with. Any model, friend or foe, whose base lies underneath the template risks being hit and suffers a single strength 3 hit with an AP of -2. There's a lot of -2s here. And then finally for number 6 we have Rapid Regeneration. This is an enchantment spell with a casting value of 9+ and a range of 12 inches. Until the end of your next start of turn subphase, the target friendly unit gains the Flammable special rule and the Regeneration 5+ special rule. Again, pretty damn good. You can get a character there with a unit. It's a bit of a shame no black orcs, but yeah. I mean, you could do it on your giants too. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty good lore of Magic, and it's really nice to see this. It has been confirmed on previous posts by Games Workshop that this was going to be a full lore, and we might see more in the future, but it's not always going to be the case. I like this when it's themed like this. It really is important to have it. So yeah. Big reason why I decided to go with Troll Horde myself. Alright, we're going to start talking about new units before we jump into the characters. The first thing is the Badlands Ogre Bulls. Now, what's important to note here is essentially it's the exact same stat line as the standard Ogre Bulls. So while Games Workshop is releasing the metal versions, if you want the plastic ones, the old Ogres are still available in Age of Sigmar, so you can buy a box which I believe brings in 6 per box, which allows you to take 2 ranks of free. You could also get a box of, interestingly enough, Iron Fists because it's using the same stuff. So, same stat value, same point value. Naturally, they have hand weapons and light armor. But you can get them with additional hand weapons, you can get them with great weapons, or you can get them with Iron Fists, which is essentially a shield, but gives them an extra attack anyway. These can be upgraded for full command, and the reason why I say you can take Iron Fists is because you can also upgrade them to have heavy armor. So yeah, give them great weapons, give them heavy armor, and then just buy a box of plastic iron guts rather than buying the metal dudes. It's just going to be better for you, right? In terms of the special rules, they've got Armor Bane 1 naturally, Close Order, Fear, Impact Hits 1, Mercenaries, which we'll talk about in a second, Motley Crew. As you can already imagine, you can kind of switch them around with different weapons if you so wish. And finally, Ogre Charge. One big thing here is, yeah, you just have to go on the Legacy list and pick up Ogre Charge, but it just gives you extra armor piercing for your impact hits if you have extra ranks. And Iron Fist, again, extra attacks, but also increased heavy armor. Now this unit is known as a Dogs of War, so Badlands Ogre Bulls may be taken as mercenaries in any army made using any Grand Army composition that includes mercenaries category, right? So yeah, you can take this as a pretty much any faction. That's how I am interpreting it. It doesn't seem too bad, to be honest. It allows you to have a lot more different weapon options. It allows you to have some bigger great weapons. And yeah, I mean, ogres mixed up with orcs always make sense. It's one of those things where we know it runs deep in the lore, right? Overall, as a unit, it's not too bad. Again, it's the same stat value as the standard Ogre Bulls, but what can you say? You know, you've got 3 wounds, 3 attacks per model, leadership 7, movement is 6, it's pretty high. Its weapon skill isn't the best, but you've got decent strength and toughness at 4, 31 points per model though, it's pretty expensive. Yeah, you can use it with whatever you want. That's the big thing. Alright, for a new unit, we've got the Black Orc Boar Chariots, and these are 130 points per model. It's 2 Warboars, 2 Black Orc crew. It's a heavy chariot, 50 by 100 millimeter base. Its unit size is 1, armor value is 3+. Essentially, it is a... yeah, I mean, it's like a Chaos Chariot. The difference is here, the Black Orc crew comes naturally with hand weapons, but you can upgrade them to have additional hand weapons or great weapons too. You can also give them a standard too, which counts as a standard bearer, which makes them a little disgusting. I actually quite like from what I've been seeing here. Now, for special rules, they got choppers, close order, first charge, furious charge. That's only for the Black Orc crew, though. Ignore panic, impact hits D6+1, and then Tusker charge. Overall, these are pretty damn good, and I will say that they are very, very, very strong. So, strength 5 on the chariot, toughness 5. These things you'll be seeing a little bit later on, you know, once you get your hands on the book, but it is a very powerful chariot overall. Keep in mind, obviously, Black Orc crew themselves have high weapon skill with weapon skill 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 1 attack each, but you're getting 2 attacks altogether. This is a kit bash unit, so that does mean that you're going to be using a standard Orc chariot and then just putting some Black Orcs on there. Same thing like with the Tomb Guard chariots. I mean, yeah, it's doable. That means that you can just put the Orc on foot and switch around. I know this isn't too ideal for a lot of people, but again, I do compliment this being very similar to that of 6th edition, so I'm kind of keen on it myself. Now, yes, you can also use this as a mount for your Black Orcs, by the way, or your Black Orc big bosses, so war bosses or big bosses, and that's plus 130 points as the mount. So, yeah, I mean, overall, not too bad. It gives you a little bit of an interesting thing to do there. I've been talking to some other creators who've had access to the book, and they've said that they could plan out some really disgusting lists alongside the Black Orc Boar Chariots and so on, especially since you can, yeah, put a BSB on a chariot. Now, I will say it is a massive shame that you can't take this in the standard Grand Army, because I would have loved to have a proper Black Orc themed army. I mean, it would be pretty disgusting, but why not for the memes, right? Obviously, house rules and so on will allow for that, but yeah, that's way too strong. Overall, very, very happy on these. Okay, we're going to talk about the Bone Grinder Giant. So this is an old Forge World model, which is coming back. This is 300 points, by the way. It's fairly expensive, at least from what I see. But stat-wise, it's pretty good. Movement 6, weapon skill 3. It's not the best, but strength 7, toughness 6, 8 wounds, and leadership 10. It's a behemoth unit, and its base does vary. Either a 50 by 100 or a 100 by 150. And seeing as the model hasn't changed, this thing kind of just throws me off, because obviously base size does actually matter. More enemies will be able to hit you with 100 by 150. You'll probably be better off on the basic 50 by 100, but again, very much up to you. Now, the Bone Grinder Giants can be used on your Orcs and Goblins tribes, your Warriors of Chaos, or your Beastmen Brayherds, so it is a multi-purpose big monster there. You can use it with pretty much all your destructive factions. Shame that none of the legacy ones are going to be able to use this, but I imagine that tournaments, FAQ, TOs, and so on, you never know, you never know. Now, combat is going to be really interesting here, because you're going to be fighting different things, right? And that's going to determine what attacks you're going to be able to get. Because combat is random, you're going to have to roll a d6 when you actually fight against your enemy, but there are 3 categories of enemies. Little things, big things, and bigger things. Little things would be regular infantry, heavy infantry, swarms like cavalry, heavy cavalry, war beasts. Big things would be monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry like chariots or war machines, and bigger things would be monstrous creatures, heavy chariots, or behemoths. But yeah, when you're in combat with, say, for example, a little thing, you roll a d6. On a 1 to a 2, you do a crush underfoot. On a 3 to 4, you do grind its bones. On a 5 to 6, you do vomit. But there's loads of different things like Edbutt and so on. It's essentially just a giant with, yeah, just stronger. Now, I'm not going to go over everything for there. It's just basically a giant that's stronger, and believe me, there's a lot of different attacks there. It's 6 attacks, and I don't want to go over everything because, well, then that would give you no reason to actually buy the book, and then I'd probably get slapped by Games Workshop. So yeah, we're gonna move on. But overall, I mean, it's pretty good. I'm still kind of trying to figure out if I want one or not, to be honest. I think I might have one from way back in the day when I was just buying randomly some stuff when a lot of stuff got put onto Last Chance to Buy way back in the day. So yeah, but I don't know. I'm not too keen on giants. Maybe way too random for me, and that's just personal preference. I did forget to mention special rules, however, so Bone Grinder giant attacks, like we discussed, 6 different attacks, Close Order, Immune to Psychology, Large Target, Mercenary, Stomp attacks, D6+1, Terror, Timber, and, interestingly enough, it is unbreakable. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Well, really, I wasn't. Alright, we're going to talk about the Troll Hags now. So this is a behemoth character, and this costs 235 points base, which, I mean, isn't too bad for what it actually is. Movement 5, weapon skill 2, it's not great, but strength 6, toughness 5, wounds 6, initiative 2, free attacks, leadership 8. I mean, overall, it's not too bad. It's got Gnarled Stomp, Troll Vomit, Swamp Breath, and Scaly Skin, which counts as heavy armor. Now, it's important to note that this is a level 1 wizard, which can take battle magic or troll magic, but can be upgraded to a level 2. And since it's a character also, it is able to purchase magical items up to a total of 50 points. Now, this is for the Troll Horde. You can have it as a character, but if you decide to want to take a Troll Hag in your standard Grand Army composition, well, if you field a standard Troll Mob or more, then you can take 0 to 1 Troll Hags as a rare choice, which isn't too bad, to be honest, because that means that you can still have your killy characters out there, but also bring this one in as a rare choice. Now, when it comes to special rules, you've got the following: Close Order, Flammable, Immune to Psychology, Indiscriminate Hunger, Large Target, Motherly Love. This is kind of like random attacks once again. Regeneration 5+, Slimy Shanks, Stomp attacks D6, Stupidity, Terror, Timber, and also, interestingly enough, which actually did surprise me, is it's also unbreakable, or better yet said, she's unbreakable. We will talk about some of the special rules though. Indiscriminate Hunger is done during the command subphase of the turn, and yeah, you just nominate the enemy that you're in close combat with. But yeah, you have to be in close combat with them, like engaged properly, and they do an initiative test. If they fail, the Troll Hag eats them and regains a wound. So yeah, it's a bit of a heal there. If they pass, I mean, it's same, right? No effect. Motherly Love is pretty much fighting like a giant, so random attacks there. You know, you roll a d6, 1 to 2 you get something, 3 to 4 you get something, 5 to 6 you get something. All in all, the attacks are pretty interesting, so you're not doing normal attacks. The only reason why I say weapon skill 2 is like being bad is because you never know if something comes in that makes you do like a weapon skill test or something, right? But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's pretty random, which is interesting. I mean, you do a lot of damage. I'm not going to go over all of them because if not, then again, there's no reason for you to buy the book. But yeah, if you like the randomness, and this is why I don't want to bring a giant in my armies, because if I'm already going to do that with the Troll Hag, I don't want to do it with everything else. But some people might. It's the memes of having giants and loads of big monsters. Again, very much up to you. Now, Slimy Shanks, basically anything that directs to hit attacks to the Troll Hag must suffer a -1 to hit modifier. Troll Vomit is just kind of like a Stomp. It's done at the end of the combat, and it's strength 3, -2 AP. And then finally, Swamp Breath is a breath weapon at a strength 3, -2 AP. There's a lot of -2 APs in this book, but any enemy that suffers 1 or more wounds must take a panic test as if they just had taken heavy casualties, which is, yeah, pretty damn good. I mean, I like her. I've always been a big fan of the model. If memory serves, she was sculpted by Trish Carden, which, again, one of the big names for the old school Warhammer stuff. And it's actually quite nice to see a troll-themed army within the Greenskin book, essentially. It does give me a lot of hope for the future, but we'll talk about that a different day. Alright, so there are 2 named characters here, only 2. The first one is Ordrug's Swamp Digger. This is a orc weird nob, and he can be fielded in any army that allows for weird nobs. So yeah, that's not too bad. 195 points, movement 4, weapon skill 4, strength 4, toughness 5 though, wounds 3, initiative 4, 2 attacks, leadership 8. He is an infantry character, so 30 by 30 base, you know, pretty much standard orcs. He's a level 3 wizard, and he can have elementalism or troll magic, which is pretty good. For generic special rules, he's got Choppers, Ignore Goblin Panic, and Warband, which is, again, not too bad. But this is where things get a little bit more interesting. So he's got the Troll Caller, which means that all trolls can use his leadership as long as they're within the command range. Siphon Strength allows him to siphon the strength of trolls. So whilst he is within 3 inches of friendly troll mobs with a unit strength of 6 or more that is not fleeing, he may apply a +1 modifier to any casting rolls he makes, so he'll have +4 to cast. You'll want trolls around him, and I mean, it's pretty themed. You've seen his model already, he's been announced already. Trollhide Shawl gives him +1 armor value, so he's going to be like light armor, but it also gives him a 5-up regeneration and the flammable special rule. And finally, his Bogwood Staff is a pretty much great weapon. It's magical attacks, +2 strength, -1 AP. However, every wound that is unsaved that he does, he regains a wound back. So yeah, you've got a little bit of a heal there. You just have to put him up front and personal, which is fine because you're going to be running him pretty much up the front there with some orcs, right? I mean, he's an orc. Even though he's a spellcaster, they still are there to just like beat stuff down. And then lastly, we have a goblin out of all things. So this is Kick Nick Tooth Snatcher. He is a light cavalry character, so he is mounted. He's going to be on a 25 by 50mm base, and he is 105 points. So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. Movement 4, weapon skill 5. Well, movement for him doesn't matter because obviously his mount. But yeah, strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 3, initiative 5, 4 attacks, leadership 8 with his mount Chomper. Adorable name. Movement 9, weapon skill 3, strength 4, initiative 3, 2 attacks. I mean, overall, it's pretty good. I think that it's going to be quite interesting to see a goblin character once again, because we did have one back in the day, just didn't have a model, which was Gatilla the Hunter. And again, this can be taken in any Orc and Goblin tribe's army that has a Goblin war boss. So in terms of generic special rules, you've got Ambushers, Armored Bane 1 for Chomper, Armored Hide 1, Chariot Runners, Fast Cavalry, Fear of Elves, because, yeah, Impetuous, Swift Stride, and Warband, and Rallying Cry too, I forgot about that one. But then you've got some unique special rules, so 0 to 1 Wolf Rider mobs in the same muster list as this character may have the Ambusher's special rule for free. In addition, you may apply a +1 or -1 modifier to the result when rolling to determine if a Goblin Wolf Rider mob with the Ambusher's special rule that is currently in reserves either arrives or is delayed. So you can choose, and I think that's actually quite good. I like that. It means that you can delay it if you so wish, or you can just decide, bring them in early. Well, obviously, if the modifier helps. Hit and Run makes goblins pretty interesting here, so should they win a round of combat, Kicknick and any Goblin Wolf Rider mob that he has joined may choose to fall back in good order rather than make a follow-up or pursuit move. And then lastly, we've got the Boss's Trophy Rack, which gives you an extra +1 combat resolution point. And the unit that he has joined in the turn that they charged, you cause fear, which is pretty cool. Also, in terms of weapons, you've got the Skull Smasher, which is either a hammer or a pick. When it's a hammer, it's got +2 strength, -1 AP, armor bane 2, and magical attacks. When it's a pick, it's got standard strength, -2 AP. Again, there is a lot of -2 AP in this book. Armor bane 2, magical attacks, and multiple wounds too. I mean, as a character, it's pretty good. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, this book does have more to it. There's more detail regarding certain things. Like, there's a bunch of lore. There's a bunch of new items too, which will be usable with your other like grand armies and so on. So it's going to give you a lot more to play around with. Yeah, I mean, if you like Orcs and Goblins, this is definitely a book for you if you want to play around with trolls. Again, very, very cool. There's some pretty good items there too, I must admit. I was fairly surprised once again. I'll give you a little example, like for example, the Spider Banner. So 35 points for a magical banner, and yeah, you gain poison attack special rule. But if you already have poison attacks, it makes you wound automatically on a 5 or 6 rather than just a usual 6, which I mean, I kind of like, you know, if you like going big spider style, forest goblin themes, even though we don't have any forest goblin stuff, yeah, this is pretty good. There are some other items that you'll be able to use. So a big incentive with these types of books is not only do you get the 2 Armies of Infamy, but you also get a bunch of items that you can play around with. Honestly, I quite like this. I quite like this more than the Tomb King one and the Bretonnian one, if I can be perfectly honest there. So it does give me hope that the ones that have been cooking a little bit longer, so to speak, are going to just get better and better. Personally, I'm really favoring Chaos Warriors at the moment as maybe my main faction from the core list, so I can't wait until we see a Chaos Warrior one, and I'm hoping that we actually end up getting more Arcane Journals per race, not just one, because more factions, more flavor. This means that you're going to see a lot more. I was recently in Spain, and I was able to see a little tournament that was in my area, and there was people playing Tomb Kings, but playing with different types of Tomb Kings, which is great because that means variety. It's not going to be the usual thing where everyone's using the same list over and over. Clearly, when a meta does get found, that's obviously going to be the thing, but until then, yeah, I mean, I'm loving seeing the variety, and it's giving me more and more incentive to paint up loads of other things. Oh, by the way, for those who do want to know this, because, again, for the lore of troll magic. So, yes, there is an item there which is 25 points, which allows you to become a spellcaster for the lore of trolls, for goblin shamans, orc shamans, and night goblin shamans. So, yeah, again, pretty beneficial if you like that style of play, and you're not using the troll horde style Army of Infamy. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. This is a much longer video than I expected it to be. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about here, and I'm really happy that there is a lot to talk about, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, have a good day, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Just a quick note, I do apologize for the lack of battle reports recently. As you guys know, I've been under a lot of stress, and been dealing with some family matters. My granddad fell, and, you know, he's quite old, so that's taking priority at the moment, but it won't be too long, and we'll be back up and running. I've got a few armies which are almost rebased, so I can't wait to show you guys.